Hey everyone, this is J-Rod here, just to let you guys have a Merry Christmas Eve for all of you guys, but also let you know it's also my birthday, so here's a little early Christmas present for all of you. I'm going to review AEW and NXT on this episode of Deleted Wrestle Zone.
Are you ready? Get up, get up! 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 Get up, get up!
Welcome everybody to Deleted Wrestle Zone, all things that is pro wrestling from AEW, NXT, New Japan Pro Wrestling, Impact Wrestling, many promotions, wrestlers, matches, and championships. I'm your host J-Rod. So, as you know, we're almost getting closer and closer to the end of the year, but we're also at the time of the holidays, so let's have some holiday cheers. I know, being silly. So, as you guys saw what happened this past Wednesday on AEW and NXT, let's review right now the views and ratings. I didn't think they were going to post it today. I assumed, like what happened in Thanksgiving, it was going to be on Monday. But frankly, it did not. So let's review that right now. But before I go, just to remind everybody, both shows did not do so well. They went down. But however, AEW had the bigger edge, most viewerships, and the ratings. So this is what happened. AEW Dynamite had 755,000 views compared from last week, which was 806,000 views, which went a little down. But the rating was up to 0.32 in the 18 to 49 demographic. Now, we can say it's a little bit lower, but however, keep in mind they were competing also with the NBA. Now, the same thing happened with NXT. They received 698,000 views compared from last week, which was 766,000 views, and the rate from the 18 to 49 demographic was a 0.19. Now, we can say all we want that the ratings at this point don't mean anything. I know some of you who are die-hard fans or those who follow the ratings, you probably say, well, how come they're still low? I mean, look what happened with AEW with Sting. Well, the thing is, you got to remember, they try to come up with things new to get the better edge, but however, they were also competing with the NBA. Keep in mind, AEW had the NBA and all that, so that's a bit of the edge. It's the same thing we had with the election, same thing with other things that took place. But it's not the end for both shows. But however, AEW always seems to have the better edge. But right now, let's review AEW Dynamite. Okay, so AEW Dynamite started with an interesting tag team match. This one was set up a week ago, which was MJF teaming up with Jericho along with Jake Hager, facing off against Top Flight. If you recall, Top Flight were involved in a 12-man tag team match between them, the Varsity Blondes, and what was it? The Jurassic Express, alongside with the you know, in almost the entire inner circle members minus Wardlow. Brandon Cutler had to be pulled out. So the idea what happened here in this particular match is Top Flight made their mark. They set up a match against MJF and Jericho. The match seems like it started great with Top Flight is they're the new hottest talent in the tag team division, but however they were almost being annihilated by them, but how they try to come back strong. But however, there was interference, all thanks to Jake Hager, and allowed MJF to pick up the victory, allowing Inner Circle to pick up a victory. Now, however, even though MJF and Chris Jericho won this match, apparently Hager had something that he wanted to get out of his chest. Basically, he had a little problem with Wardlow not being there. Now, Warlow wasn't there because there was a family matter that he had to take care of. Now, he sees, okay, MJF, he's your asset. We like, he's fact, but the problem is he's not here. Like, I understand family, but the inner circle is family. That's the thing. So he surprised everyone when he said that he talked to Tony Khan, setting himself for a match against him next week. Now, this caught MJF off guard, but however, Jericho cannot argue with MJF over Hager's decision. Now, this is not one of those matches where they're saying, oh, if he loses, he out. Basically, it's more like Warlow needs to get his head together, and start focusing his attention being part of the inner circle. I think that's what he's trying to do. But it's going to be interesting. Now, I know some of you have seen Warlow, what he can do, and you probably say he's better off without MJF. Maybe so, but we'll see what happens when we get to that bridge. Now, as you know, the Acclaim set themselves out to put the face against the Bucks. They set up a very dissenting music video talking about the Young Bucks and all that. I'm I'm like thinking this is something brings us back when R-Truth, when he was known as K-Quick back in the time when he did that with a Road Dog. But yeah, so it's pretty interesting to see that. But that is going to be part of the main event between the Acclaim and the Young Bucks. Now, MJF called the camera for something. Now, as you know, sometimes some members don't like of the inner circle don't like MJF, but MJF asked a minute of their time. Now, Santana wasn't around during a situation when they were trying to set up the ultimatum, according to what MJF said, that someone close to him passed away. He kind of like tried to pour his heart out, saying, I'm sorry, and this and that. Now, you can say he may be playing, but the truth is, how do we know this is totally genuine? That is a good question. Sometimes we know MJF, he can lie to his teeth, he manipulates people. So we just got to see what happens. Now, we do know that there is that common factor that he could stab the inner circle in the back for this. But we don't know when will that happen or if it ever will happen. But we'll cross the bridge when it happens. Now, the next match, this one was set up a week ago where Dustin Rhodes decided to face Evil Uno. As you know, the Nightmare family had their brief issues with the Dark Order that dates back when Brody King annihilated Cody and the rest of the Nightmare family. And then all of a sudden, Evil Uno decided that he's better off being with Dark Order, saying that the Nightmare family has held him back. And he told him to take his position as number 7, and Dustin just slapped him in the face. This was a good match that was telling the story, saying, look, Dustin has issues with you guys for what you did to his family. It's because if you look at the Dark Order, they act like, you know, you guys have been held back. You know that. They even tried to recruit Adam Page. But Dustin, he's not going to go in that route. So that's what he's trying to do. It was a good match. It did show that he still has it. He defeated Evil Uno. But here's the factor. We normally known Evil Uno as a tag team specialist, but he hasn't had much. I don't know if he ever had that much experience as a singles competitor. Same thing we did see with Stu. But the match ended with Dustin pulling off the win. But however, while Evil Uno tried to shake his hand, he was attacked by Stu Hart. QT Marshall came out to help, but he was taken out. But to the surprise, Lee Johnson showed up and took care of business. So it kind of surprised me. Okay, we got this young talent guy who they picked up, and now he's actually making an impression. So we did see him face against Stu Grayson at Dark. He was really impressive, even though he came up short. It was a good match. Then, of course, for a while, ever since Kenny Omega controversially won the AEW World Title from Moxley, they've been trying to get more answers with him. Now, Don Callis, who's been like the advocate for Kenny, he feels like they don't deserve. But however, he was gonna say this and that he made his decisions. But he has an issue with Pac, who he feels that Pac had no right to go to Tony Khan, act like he owns the place, and tries to demand a match for Rey Fenix for the AEW title. But however, Kenny put on this great psychology type of speech where he says, "Do you remember when I beat you for the AAA Mega Championship? Do you remember when I beat you in the tournament?" So basically, he was trying to remind him, "I beat you these times. Don't forget that." So that's a great way of psychology that is going. He's reminding Phoenix, "I beat you twice." So that's how it is. But there was another match he did face them, and that was for the Northeast Wrestling, which is in Connecticut. Connecticut, yeah, Connecticut. I didn't. I saw that. It was a pretty good match. Now let's get to a what do we got? Oh yeah, a six-man tag team match. We had the Dark Order, Colt Cabana, and five and 10 facing off all members of the Jurassic Experience. I have to say this was, I say, the best match for the Jurassic Express. Because I know there's been rumors circulating they want to make a trios championship. I look at Jurassic Express; they could be that team that win that, and it was very impressive how they do this match. Even though there's certain moments, including when there's Colt involved with his jokes and all this and that, but it was good. I loved it, and of course the way they ended. I realized when Luchasaurus picked up Marco and he tossed him towards Colt and 10 and took out 5, it was over, baby. But however, while they were about to do the post match interview in the ring with Tony Schiavone, they were interrupted by none other than the Fear the Revelation, or FTR. Reason this is FTR had issues with the fact that these guys are being recognized. Now, they've always claimed that they are the best, but they're being overlooked while a guy in a dinosaur costume. So they have their issues saying this joke is over, the fun is over. So they're going to deal matters. But Tully decided to get under Marco's stunt skin and try to start something. And Marco seems like he wants to beat him, even though it's like a little kid wants to beat up Grandpa. I thought it was so good. They're trying to detain him, like saying, "No, no, 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 no." But it was awesome. I liked it. Now, the next match we had the Butcher versus the versus Pac. This match was set up a week ago. As you know, the issues between Death Triangle and Eddie Kingston and his so-called family has been taking high and high turns. This was a really interesting match. As you know, Penta was there by his side. No Ray Phoenix, but he had to prepare for his match against Kenny coming up and all of that. But it was a good match to see. Okay, Butcher's big, but Pac has to rely more on his speed. Now, it seems like Butcher was about to win this match, but don't forget, there is another person that Kingston has to deal with, and that person is none other than the Murder Hawk, uh, Lance Archer. As you know, Kingston also has his issues towards him, saying that he never beat him, that he never eliminated him due to the fact that that wasn't true. But Archer feels, yes, you did. That's what the history books are saying. So, however, the distraction helped Pac to win the match. But however, we don't know how the tensions between both Pac and Lance Archer is going to go. We do know that they have a common enemy, but will we ever see those two become allies in order to face a guy like Eddie Kingston? Well, we may never know until we get to that bridge as well. Now, as you know, while a few weeks ago, Jade Cahill made her Cahill, or what? I hope I pronounced it her name, made her debut on AEW Dynamite a couple weeks ago, where Cody was about to talk. Was his next step over the fact that he lost the TNT Championship towards Dodry, and then here she comes insulting him, saying that she did not appreciate him calling him a giant killer due to the fact that he beat Brody, and said that the true giant is Shaquille O'Neal, and then Brandy got in her face, and they've been getting in each other's face, and of course, Kegel attacked her, breaking her arm off, and now the news has been surrounding, saying now that she's pregnant and all that. So Kegel made a pretty good harsh statement about saying, "Oh, now you're pregnant. Now it seems with you out of the way, the women's division is going back to its normal rate." Basically, she feels that it's going to go in her favor, but she is demanding an opponent since we were originally supposed to have Brandy versus Jade in the past, but it did not. Seems like it's gonna happen anytime soon, since we do know Brandy is gonna be a mom. So we'll see how they're gonna go. If we don't know if down the line this feud between them will renewed, and when things are back a little normal for Brandy. So we just gotta pay attention, but we hopefully we see a good opponent she can face. That is something we should pay attention about. Now the next thing we see, Miro and Kip and Penelope were about to announce the day of their wedding. But however, they decided to play a little game with us, saying that the best friends were there to attack them, but that was all a hoax. Then we see a clip where Trent seems like he was injured and taken into an ambulance alongside Orange and Chuck Taylor. But it seems like they had to do something about it, since they think they're not best friends. The real best friends are him and Miro and Kip. That's what they see. But according to what's going on, they're saying Trent is injured. He'll be out of action for a couple months. Now, we don't know when that happened. I just hope to come by, because they did announce the wedding day. It's going to take place on February 3rd for Beach Break. And that's going to be an interesting thing. Things in weddings never go well for anybody, especially any promotion. Doesn't matter if it's an Impact or WWE or NWA or anywhere. It always ends in turmoil, which is too funny to watch. Now, we see an interview with Sean Spears. As you know, Sean Spears recently had he got humiliated by Scorpio Sky, but I don't know what happened. He did never mentioned it, but it was weird how this whole thing ended, with how he was saying that he's starting to see maybe he was the problem, that he can't pick up a victory on certain levels, or he keeps losing on certain levels. So he made a decision that he'll be back whenever he feels like it. So he felt like, that he needs to do something about it, with him. So he just walked off. Then the next interview we see is Hikaru Shida. Now, she's already been in play booked to face Alex Gracia, who won her dark match to have an opportunity to face her. But all of a sudden, she was attacked by Abaddon. So basically, they tried to separate them, and Hikaru Shida had to get in her game, knows that she's facing against Alex Gracia. The match was very interesting to see. Now, as you know, Alex Gracia, she's been in the independent scenes for a long time. She had a bit of two tryouts with WWE, but now her making more appearances in WWE. This was her first appearance in AEW Dynamite, but the match was pretty interesting. But however, there is a moment where Abaddon just once again shows up, tries to scare her, or try to put fear in her. Who knows? But she was able to take her out. But Hikaru Shida got back into the ring and took care of business, take out Alex Gracia with the Falcon Arrow. But however, she was mostly concerned about Abaddon being there, so she checked if she was still there. But she just woke up and bit her right in the neck like a freaking zombie. Like if you've seen the movies Dawn of the Dead or Walking Dead, or however whatever zombie movies or shows like that. So I don't know what to expect on that, but I hopefully we get to see what happens next. Now it's main event time. It's for the AEW World Tag Team Championships, with the challengers, the Acclaim versus the Young Bucks. This was a pretty good match. Now, the Bucks have talked about this long before, that tag team wrestling should main event. Even though WWE is against it, but they have made their ways with it on certain levels. But seeing this match was good. The Acclaim were determined to prove that they are the true future, and the Bucks are just a thing of the past, that they're done. But they did every possible way to win. They even low blow. They even used the boombox. But that wasn't enough to put the Bucks away. However, Matt Jackson was able to take out Anthony Bowen and powerbomb him through the table, while they took out Max Caster with the BTE trigger. So they maintained their tag team championship, but the real question is now, who is next to face the Bucks for the titles? So I think that's it for now with the AEW Dynamite. Let's move on to NXT. All right, NXT time for all of you guys. So the first match they started out it's for the NXT Tag Team Championship in a street fight match between the current champions Orny Lorcan and Danny Burch versus Drake Maverick and Killian Day. Now this match was set up in the story where in fact um, Burch and Lorcan along with Dunn and McAfee attacked both Dane and Maverick during a match and they wanted some payback. And of course, Lorcan and Birch keep getting in their way, but they were determined to fight back. And I did enjoy how this story was telling. Okay, you look at Killian Dane. He says that no one punches Drake Maverick but him. And of course, Drake Maverick, who is trying to be the optimistic, cheerful individual, knows what's at stake. But the way the tactic was going with both Lorcan and Birch was showing that they were trying to separate the dominant one, which was Killian Dane. There was a moment near the end that I did like where, uh, since it was a street fight match, both Lorcan and Birch got low blowed by Maverick, and he whipped them with the belt. But however, I don't remember who was it. I think it was Birch who low blowed him, and it ended with them retaining the tag team titles. But the real question at the end of the match, who is next to face them? Now, my money is on grizzled young veterans. Don't ask me why, but I'll explain why maybe in the final thoughts. Now, I don't know how you guys feel about this faction called The Way. They started doing this whole Christmas thing, like they did 3 different segments where what they got for Christmas, Johnny Gargano being the lovable, odd father, and all this, and you look at Indy Hartwell and Austin Theory being the kids, and the mom by Candice LeRae. It feels like a family sitcom. I wasn't too much sold on it, but from what I heard, it did not air on the ratings for this one. I don't blame them for that. I don't know what WWE were thinking about this, but I'm sure it must have been a dumb move, on their part. Now, for all of you guys that know this, we did know what's going on with Kyle O'Reilly. He's facing Finn Balor once again for the NXT Championship at New Year's Evil, and they're both prepared to face off each other and all this. We can remember it was Kyle O'Reilly who broke Finn Balor's jaw. But however, how much has Kyle O'Reilly has evolved? Now during this time, Adam Cole and Roderick Strong gave their interview to give their thoughts about, okay, look, we know what happened. He broke his jaw, but however, he may have not won it, but he has changed, that he has evolved to a different tactical level. But however, they were being ruined by none other than Velveteen Dream, who's saying Kyle O'Reilly is the leader of the Undisputed Era, that he's the one who's doing that. But Adam Cole said that there's no leader in Undisputed Era. I mean, he's not bothered that Kyle O'Reilly is facing Finn Balor. The only thing that matters if Kyle O'Reilly wins the title, that title will return back to the Undisputed Era. Now, that is a good story the way they're setting up. But the real question is, are we ever going to see that uh, Undisputed Era could be splitting up? Well, that's another question that we could reveal. I might talk about that in the final thoughts when we get to that point. Now, the next thing we see is, recently Malcolm Bivens has aligned himself with Tyler Rust, who made a good impression, initiative, attacking Tommaso Ciampa. So this will be his an interesting match. Apparently, his match with Tommaso Ciampa put him on the map, even though he was short. Malcolm Bivens doesn't blame him for losing that match, but however, he sees great things with him that could come in his future. So that's why he took him under his wing, and I feel this is a good story how they're building up. But he is set to be in a match later on in that day. Now, the match we're having next is Isaiah Swerve Scott versus Jake Atlas. This was a rematch from a match that Scott lost to Atlas a few weeks ago. However, Atlas was not was doing everything in his power to win to ensure it did show the story saying, okay, these are two competitors in the cruiserweight division. We know they both faced off against Santos Escobar, but who is the better man? But however, that match ended with Scott. He was happy, but I think what's his name? Scott disrespected him by telling him to go suck it. But he tried to shake his hand, but Jake Atlas doesn't know what to make of this anymore. Like he feels like just one loss it ruined him a little bit. So we don't know if this is going to be another a rivalry. We've seen this in TNA when Kurt Angle beat Samoa Joe and Samoa Joe beat Angle, that sort of thing. I'm not sure if that's what they're going to go with, but we just all we can do is wait and see when we see that happens. We'll just gotta see what happens next week. What Jake Atlas will say when this comes around. Now, um, as you know, the interesting dynamic of the stories between Champa and Thatcher is so interesting. Now, however, Thatcher was there trying to observe him last week when he was facing Tyler Rust, and basically he's demanding a match with him or whatever. But he did ask him to come down to the ring, and that's pretty interesting psychology right there, where he's telling him, "Calm down, I want to know what you're all about." So that's what he's saying, and that's kind of interesting to see with a guy like him trying to make a point. So that's going to be in a later match where he Thatcher sets up in the match against Leon Ruff. Yes, the guy who beat for won the North American Championship from Gargano. Now the next match is between Ripley and Dakota Kai. As you know, Dakota Kai has always had Raquel Gonzalez by her side, and this time she was banned by orders of General Manager William Regal. Ripley said this that Raquel Gonzalez will always be the one to get the fight Raquel Gonzalez Dakota Kai's battles, and Dakota said that she doesn't need her for her battles. So that's when Regal initiated, why not? Let's have this match. But Raquel Gonzalez won. It was a pretty good match. I did like it, but I like how in the end Raquel Gonzalez was helpless to show up. She knows that if she interferes, this would ruin Dakota Kai's chances of winning. But however, Ripley was taunting her, trying to get her to come down the ring, make her do something, like to show her that it's true. Dakota Kai needs her to fight her battles. So basically, it did not happen. It did allow for Ripley to initiate the avalanche on her, and she lost. So, but however, we all knew this was going to happen. They got in each other's faces, and of course, that's what the fans wanted to see. They brawled. We were all expecting that right from the start, and when it happened, I was so happy with the idea. Now, as you know, after the events of what happened with Tony Storm winning the women's War Games and, of course, beating um, Ember Moon, apparently she just made it clear that she's now coming for the NXT Women's Championship, or should I say Io Shirai, and she's saying that she remembered her beating her in the first round in the Mae Young Classics, and of course saying all this remarkable, saying to her that Io's only problem is the NXT Women's Championship, but however, she did tell this on the interview that her second biggest problem is her. And of course, she did say this harshful remarks, but later on, we see Io's reaction, where of course she was not happy. She called out Tony Storm, but all of a sudden, we just saw the return of Mercedes Martinez. Now we haven't seen her for a while in NXT. We did know that she was on Raw, but she knew it was a mistake for her to be on there. But now she's back. We don't know what plans they did, but the idea how she returned is when she took out Io Shirai. I'm not sure if she's like one of those competitors, like okay, she's gunning for the Io Shirai and her title, because there's a lot of women who would want to get that, and that includes Tony Storm. But it was a good way to to start the build of story right there. Now, recent time we have seen Zaya Lee and Bron Boa are being in these harshable training moves by this unknown master and this old guy who's been leading the training. But it seems like they improved. Now, I don't know what it is, but it seems like they're changing. They're surpassing the brutality of their training and all this. So we may see them soon as possible returning to NXT. But the real question is, who is this master we've been seeing with this woman? Like, she kind of reminds me like one of those Japanese ghost characters or something. I don't know, but I would love to see when that happens. Now, we just had the return of none other than the Colossos, Bronson Reed versus Ashante the Adonis. It was amazing to see him back. I'm a huge fan of Bronson Reed, how he has made an impact on NXT. But he did win his match on his return. Ashante, we only seen him on 205 Live, but yeah. I have to say, I can't wait to see what Bronson Reed can do. I feel like he should be getting to the top for a title opportunity, maybe the North American title. I'm not sure. But we'll see when we get there, when we reach to that point. Now, let's get to this match where Timothy Thatcher set up himself against Leon Ruff. Now, he did call out Ciampa to get in the be by ringside to watch him. Now, you can see that, oh, there is no way Leon Ruff could win this match against him. But however, it was the biggest upset. Somehow Leon Ruff was able to pin. Apparently, Thatcher lost focus and he was mostly paying attention, asking, "Where are you, Ciampa? I'm calling you out." So he was lost focus, allowing Leon Ruff to pick up the victory. But however, the celebration was cut too short because Thatcher was not happy. He was about to take out Leon Ruff. But however, Ciampa actually took him out and told him that he'll see him at the pit. Now, I don't know what that means, but I'm kind of excited to see where they're going to go with this one. Now, as you know, there's been tensions between both now, Cross and Priest. Now, if you recall, Priest made some insulting remarks to Scarlett, telling her, "Do you leave your man in the car," and all that, and then Cross attacked him from behind. So it appears that we will see a match between both Priest and Cross coming up on January 6th for New Year's Evil, which I'm very interested to see where they're going to go with this one. Now, as speaking of New Year's Evil, as you know right about now, Dexter Lumis is the host of the show. Now, if you recall last week, he put out a drawing where he's saying he's the host. And that's when Wade Barrett said this. Like, how's he going to talk? Well, he's an artist. He doesn't need, his pictures says all of it. And this time he did an interesting art piece where he set up a piece between Rhea Ripley and Rachel Gonzalez in a last woman standing match. I'm sold. I feel like he made the perfect masterpiece. I mean, who would want to see that? I know I have. But even Wade Barrett was impressed, so he was sold on it too. Now we get to see this match that it was really impressive impressive for me to watch. We have Arya Davari versus Tyler Rust, and we can agree he made a good impression if you guys are fans. He's a great submissionist. I have to say he pulled up all the stops, and Malcolm Bivens has been praising him, saying he's good at what he does, and he actually, even though he lost to Ciampa, but this match helped him put him on the map. And of course, he was impressive when he beat Davari. I was like, wow, this guy does have a good future being there. But here's a side note. Recently, he has been showing up in New Japan Pro Wrestling. Remember, all those shows are pre-taped for the New Japan Strong. Now, as soon as the match between Thatcher and Ruff was over, Ruff came out from William Regal's office. He gave him a Christmas present. He set up for a rematch against Gargano for the North American Championship, saying that the curse is real, so he might end his reign and walk away again as a two-time NXT North American Champion. Now let's get to the main event with Velveteen Dream and Adam Cole. As you know, Velveteen Dream made these remarks about Adam Cole. They've been rivals for a long time, but also saying that Kyle O'Reilly is the leader. But it was a good story how they're saying that Velveteen Dream crossed the line, saying all this and that about them. But however, Pete Dunne showed up and attacked Roderick Strong. Now I'm not sure if this is a renewed feud between them. I'm kind of interested where they're gonna go with this one with Roderick Strong and Pete Dunne fighting. But however, the match was so intense. But the real question is, does Adam Cole has what it takes to prove that the undisputed are still undisputed? And the answer to that is did when he actually hit him with the lights out and it was over. Velveteen Dream lost. Adam Cole prevailed. So I think that's it what we got for NXT. So right now let's move on to talk about the final thoughts on on these two shows right about now. Okay, so here's my final thoughts. What do I think about both NXT and Dynamite? Well, to be honest with you, there's some good stories on this one. I was so I did like how I always said that AEW had the better stories when it comes to what they're doing, and NXT had the better in-ring work. That's always been the case for me. I feel NXT had that, but I feel that AEW had the real edge on that with, you know, having the entire thing with their stories and all that. I did like how this whole with the story between the feud with Abaddon and Hikaru Shida. As you know, Abaddon has been getting into her skin the entire time. Um, even we did see what's his name. I did like how FTR feel like this must be a joke that Jurassic Express is getting all the attention, and they're saying we are the best tag team. What they have done, like they're telling them these guys never won a tag team championship. Anything can change, but however, Tully keeps going. Fear the revelation, but Marco Stunt's not going to tolerate with Tully. So this is something we're going to see this on next week on the New Year's Smash, which I'm excited to see. And of course, the rivalry with Pac, Kingston, and of course Lance Archer. It tells a story like, okay, Pac is angry that how he treated both Lucha Brothers, and Lance Archer had enough of Kingston with his blabbermouth saying that he was never pinned, all of this and that. I was like, wow, that's kind of crazy on this level. But of course, who could forget how in this story with Dustin Rhodes having his feud with the Dark Order is now taking up toll. As you know, the Dark Orders always believe that they can help the ones who felt like they were being held back. And he even told Adam Page that, oh, the Elite are a cult because they never allowed you to leave. So I would love to see more what's going on. So I say majority of the time of AEW with their stories is pretty interesting, but the ring work with NXT was unbelievable. I mean the street fight match between Lorcan and Birch against Dane and Drake was good. Same thing with Swerve Scott and Jake Atlas, Ripley and Dakota Kai, and of course I had to say the best one was Tyler Rust and Arya Davari. That's what I like about both shows. One show is good with the other. AEW is good with their stories, but NXT is good with their matches. So we'll see what happens in the upcoming weeks. As you know, we're getting AEW are doing their New Year's Smash coming up for the next 2 weeks. This coming Wednesday and then the following Wednesday. I'm sure that the NXT will have their NXT awards featuring the New Year's Evil coming up on the 6th of January. So I think that's it for now. So I must bid all of you adieu. So goodbye. Mwah, and have a nice day. Bang.